Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamualaikum. My name is Daniel SYAFIQ bin HAMZAH from class JLG12018, and today I would like to talk about an iconic and satirical scene from the movie Office Space, which features multiple characters and highlights critical breakdowns in communication within a workplace. While the scene is comedic, it cleverly critiques how modern office culture often fails to foster effective communication. Without further ado, let's take a deeper look at the three main communication issues depicted in the scene. First issue discussed is the lack of active listening. The first issue is a fundamental communication flaw, where pseudo-listening and rote compliance. A memorable example is when one of the characters, which is Bill Lumber, the passive-aggressive manager, asks the other character, "Did you get the memo?"
Did you see the memo about this?
This repeated question, despite Peter already acknowledging the memo, reflects pseudo-listening, where a type of fake listening where the speaker appears attentive but is mentally disengaged. Lumber doesn't care about the response, he just wants a compliance. Another example comes from another character, which is Peter Gibbons, being the employee who replies, "Yeah, I got the memo, I just forgot that one time."
Yeah, I have the memo right here. I just forgot, but it's not shipping out till tomorrow, so there's no problem.
This to shows mechanical parroting, where Peter acknowledges the policy, but there's no real ownership or internalization of the information. The consequences of this behavior are serious, where mistakes keep repeating, communication becomes redundant, and employees grow increasingly frustrated as real engagement is replaced by surface-level interactions. Moving on, the second issue discussed is ambience distraction and poor etiquette. The second issue deals with the physical and social environment that undermines proper communication. Ambient noise and distraction plays a frequent key role. The open-plan office, filled with cubicles, creates an environment where privacy is non-existent. In one scene, one of the characters named Milton Wadhams, being Peter's colleague, distracts Peter by loudly turning on his radio.
Spanish Point to be discovered in a Spanish shipwreck off the coast of
Milton,
Spain.
hi. Could you turn that down just a little bit?
Well, I was told that I could listen to the radio at a reasonable volume from 9 to 11.
Yeah, I know you're allowed to. I was just thinking maybe like a, personal favor.
Well, I told Bill that if Sandra's going to listen to her headphones while she's falling, then I should be able to listen to the radio while I'm collating. So I don't see why I should have to turn down the radio because
all right, okay.
I enjoy listening at a reasonable volume.
Thanks.
From 9 to 11.
Contributing to a chaotic atmosphere where focus is impossible. Other than that, poor communication etiquette also stands out, where conversations are robotic, impersonal, and devoid of empathy. For example, rather than checking for understanding, supervisors like Lumber repeat instructions as if ticking a box, with no real dialogue or mutual respect. Moving on, environmental design also contributes to complacency. The cube form setting reinforces passivity. People get used to tuning things out. The continuous resending of memos is a symptom of this complacency, where no one truly listens or engages, so the same message is resent repeatedly. Last but not least, the third and last issue discussed is repetitive and redundant messaging. The third issue is perhaps the most satirical, which being the overuse of memos and bureaucratic overload. We witness memo proliferation, where multiple memos are sent about the same topic, which in this case, a simple formatting policy about TPS reports. It becomes absolutely absurd. Managers send memos, follow up about memos, and question employees about whether they received them. And instead of fixing the issue directly, they obsess over documentation. This then leads to information overload, where employees become desensitized. The volume of repetitive information reduces the actual impact of important messages. Over time, this becomes part of the organizational culture. The act of sending and receiving memos turns into a ritual, which is something people do not because it works, but because that's how it's always been done. To conclude, this scene from Office Space isn't just played for laughs, it's a cautionary tale. It precisely illustrates that without active listening, teams fall into rote compliance, where they go through the motions without understanding. And when the environment is filled with distractions and poor etiquette, meaningful communication becomes nearly impossible. Lastly, when messaging is excessive and redundant, it loses its value altogether. Ultimately, Office Space delivers a powerful critique of how work environments often prioritize procedure over purpose, policies over people, and repetition over reflection. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope this gives you a new perspective on how communication breakdowns are portrayed in media and how they reflect real world organizational challenges.